we are entering a portal into our next level of evolution. The upcoming lunar eclipse is opening a powerful window for deep healing and transformation. Outdated systems are crumbling. A new balance of independence, empowerment, and relationship energy is rising. Want to know how it all ties into your personal evolution and how to balance it all? Let's dive deep together and crack the code of this lunar eclipse chart and the shifts that it's setting in motion. So today we're going to investigate the chart for the peak of the lunar eclipse happening on September 17th, 2024. Now, first things first, eclipse energy is wildcard energy. Known as the bringers of change, it's never particularly wise to try and predict what might happen through an eclipse cycle. So the purpose of today's episode is to use the chart to wrap our conscious minds, our hearts, and our intuitions around the energies coming into focus for the first eclipse of this season. That way, if and when the bringers of change arrive in our lives, we can help move forward in a way that flows in alignment with that energy and what it's trying to teach us.
Now, eclipses aren't particularly rare. We generally have 2 eclipse seasons each year. Each season is composed of a series of eclipses, at least one of which is lunar and one solar. Occasionally, a season could be comprised of 3 eclipses, but not this year. So 2 weeks after this lunar eclipse on October 2nd, we will experience a partial solar eclipse. Now, that solar eclipse is not quite the big visual event many of us experienced back in April of this year. It's a partial, so in the visible regions, it'll look more like a ring of fire and won't block out the sun entirely like the last one. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here, because we have enough to talk about regarding the chart of the upcoming lunar eclipse. More on the solar when we've moved through this first eclipse. Now, energetically speaking, the period around and through the eclipse window, and particularly the energies we experience in the 2 weeks between the first and second eclipses, is essentially portal energy. Its goal is to transform.
So eclipses don't just occur and move on. Their goal is to bring change we didn't see coming. Sort of like Uranus energy, but on steroids. The changes they bring open up a 6-month window between eclipse seasons where the deep storylines of their energetic themes play out. So without attempting to predict how it will land in both your lives and the collective, think of this episode as sort of a cheat sheet around thematics and energies that you might face between now and the next eclipse season in March of 2025.
So the way a lunar eclipse scientifically functions is when the moon, earth, and sun are all basically aligned so that the earth blocks the sun from illuminating the moon. Now, if you can visualize that in terms of how the planets align in the sky, you can see that a lunar eclipse alignment on the chart is shown as the moon directly opposed the sun to the exact degree.
So before we get deeper into this chart, we can't talk about an eclipse without also talking about the lunar nodes. That's part of why eclipses are important occurrences, particularly in evolutionary astrology.
This particular eclipse is the last of a series that began in 2023 on the Aries-Libra axis. So the 6 months between now and the next eclipse cycle will essentially close off the lessons of that cycle and open up the new lessons of the Pisces-Virgo axis, which is where the nodes are transitioning to in January of 2025. So the energies and challenges around masculine-feminine balance, redefining relationships, empowerment, and fairness will be in its grand finale from this eclipse until the nodes transition, and shifting into the lessons of Pisces and Virgo as we move towards the March eclipse cycle. Also, as a quick side note, the lunar nodes always travel retrograde from our position here on Earth. So instead of the next cycle being Taurus-Scorpio, North Node will instead be in Pisces and South Node in Virgo.
Now I'm super excited for that shift. While all energies are important to our growth and evolution, Aries has a significantly different vibe than Pisces. The North Node energy is about what we get to learn about and new, unknown experiences. When a particular energy rubs you the wrong way or triggers you, it's usually because there are lessons and healing available for you in that sign particularly. And that tracks for me because my own chart features an Aries moon. But anyway, I'm super excitable to see the North Node shift into Pisces. Aries carries a really innocent and lovely vibe of hey, this is my first time in a human body. How do I drive this thing? It can be reactive, impulsive, and definitely fiery and fun. It holds masculine themes of empowerment, bravery, and self identity. And that's a lot of energy. But I'm in my Uranus opposition right now, and I'm really excited to experience some growth of the collective towards the Pisces Neptune principles around healing, expansion of spirituality, compassion, mercy, and empathy. There are definitely some quantum, energetic, esoteric dynamics of healing that will become available in new and unforeseen ways when the nodes shift. And overall, I am very here for it. But first, let's come back home into the presence of the Virgo season we're in now and will still be in for this eclipse, and jump into the chart.
So, if you watched last week's episode, you can see right away how it set us up to explore another kite right here in this eclipse chart. So, of course, we still have Pluto trine Uranus, which will hold for a while because, well, they're basically both big and slow planets currently in retrograde. I haven't looked ahead too much, but that will probably hold for a good long time. So, we'll explore that more in a bit. But in this week's grand trine, Venus has moved on and the alignment of support is now with the Sun. And of course, since it's a lunar eclipse, we form the kite by having the Sun in perfect opposition with the Moon conjunct Neptune now at 28 Pisces.
So already you can kind of grasp how truly important this chart really is. The kite is literally pointing us towards the eclipse, like, hey, you better pay attention here. And because Neptune is involved and it's in Pisces, that's really a lot of healing energy on offer. Additionally, as I touched on earlier, in a few months, the North Node will shift out of Aries and into Pisces. So this eclipse in chart is both like a bookend to the Aries Libra nodal story and a peek into the themes and focus of the nodal shift to Pisces and Virgo.
So we have a full moon lunar at 25 Pisces at the Neptune degree, conjunct Neptune itself retrograde at 28 Pisces, the Sun degree, which is, of course, in exact opposition to the Sun itself. I mean, once again, I'm so humbled by how the maths here. You really can't make this shit up. Anyway, the moon is about our emotions and our intuition. It's a feminine, nurturing placement. In the water sign Pisces, ruled anciently by Jupiter and by Neptune in modern day astrology. Neptune and Pisces properties help us better develop our intuition and sense for energy, things unseen, and subconscious healing. They bring elements of compassion, empathy, and mercy. Meanwhile, a full moon generally represents release points and letting go.
Intuitively, I feel like this full moon is meant to help us release patterns and stories that lie in the way of our conscious evolution. That means reaching deeper for empathy and compassion and healing that are collectively lacking. Every planet and luminary in this kite formation are in the upper degrees and third decan. This is a collective message. It'll manifest through our individual lived experiences, but the big healing on offer is literally to change the world. I mean, I'm not making this up. The kite is literally pointed at it. This opportunity is huge.
But of course, we have the tension of the opposition with the Sun at 25 Virgo to bring us into balance. Sun is our identity. It's the fire of our authenticity. It's passionate and masculine in nature. And Virgo's ruler is Mercury, utilizing information and understanding to be more present and embodied in this human experience, and to feel more comfortable with that. Virgo loves to fix problems and right the wrongs, also at the Neptune degree of healing and spirituality. Do we as humans want to continue to identify as intolerant, unfair, harsh, ego driven, power hungry? Or do we want to connect more with the abundance of Earth, have compassion for how hard this experience is, and offer healing and mercy to those less fortunate than us? What information and understanding drives our actions and what we subsequently build to support humanity? Is it something a greater other is telling us? A control system? Is the government or the president? Is it religion? A CEO? Are you expecting someone with a lot of money or power to swoop in and be your savior? Or are we sovereign? Do our hearts tell us what's right? Do we surrender into presence and allow our intuition and hearts to guide us?
These are the tensions that lie in the opposition of Sun and Moon. Aligned with the lessons of the Aries and Libra nodes, it's relationship-driven masculine energy and feminine balance. The art of working together towards peace and harmony. Do we continue to fight and dominate each other, or do we surrender and receive? Remember, the sun is next to the south node and the kite is pointing towards the moon. The answer lies in feminine energy. The answer lies in emotion, trust, intuition, and healing. But the North Node Aries is nearby, so this isn't submission. This is empowerment through healing. So how the fuck do we get there?
Remember how a kite functions? The apex where it points to is supported by the flow of the grand trine and the sextiles. So we have Sun giving an action-oriented, identity-driven, passionate vibe that is supported through Virgo, which, although not ruled by Venus, is a representation of goddess energy. Then we have the support of Uranus and Pluto flowing to every placement. So Uranus retrograde at 27 Taurus. Our wild card friend, ruler of shock and awe in the Venus-ruled sign of Taurus. Slow and steady wins the race energy. Manifester of abundance and high quality of life. Persistent, at the action-oriented Mars degree, and in retrograde to boot.
I mean, off the bat, that can sometimes feel like a lot of contradicting energies. I find it particular that this exact spot in the chart is my own Uranus opposition point. I don't think I spent enough time on Uranus in the last episode, so let's explore these energies a little deeper this time.
So there's something interesting about this placement. It's moving backwards in retrograde through Taurus, a sign that is literally all about our connection to all of the abundance that Earth has to offer. It's Venus ruled, so there's subtext of feeling safe to allow harmony, peace, and justice to flow. Venus itself is transiting Libra at the third decan Mercury degree. And there's a quincunx, that green spotted line that's proprietary to a Yod formation, to the moon in conjunct Neptune. I feel like to understand this Uranus placement, we have to see it as a longer-term conversation that feeds into ultimately supporting the masculine-feminine balance and rebuilding of our standards for a higher quality of life. Sextile Moon and Neptune, Uranus is supporting our awakening to the need for compassion, empathy, and healing. It's showing us that feelings matter and need to be considered as an important part of the equation. Our intuition is a guide. And yes, in true Uranian fashion, there will be shock and awe. But it's in support of bringing humanity back into balance and justice, of receiving the earthly abundance that is our birthright. No matter where you were born, or what your bloodline looks like, or how much money or power you have. Uranus is trine Sun and Pluto. It's here to help us make the transition from Pluto and Capricorn mentality and shift into the Pluto and Aquarius frequency. And that's going to take persistence. While building the future forward vision for humanity can't be hastily made, it will take several strong-arm Uranian pushes to get us to collectively see and feel the discomfort of how we're living, specifically so that we're motivated to change it.
Essentially, this can't happen in one single major change because North Node Aries would probably result in like utter chaos. So instead, it goes about it in a Taurus manner. It's been happening slowly all along. And not quietly by any means, but rather the string of unprecedented events after unprecedented events. I mean, we're at the point where an unprecedented event has to continue to top the last one in order to even get our attention. And while that hasn't felt like super great, think about what it means. Uranus wants to awaken us to the idea that literally anything can happen. For Pluto and Capricorn, that's like hard work can make all your dreams come true. And at 29 degrees for the final time, all these other energies have us really focused on what those dreams really are, where do they come from, and who really benefits from them. But Pluto in Aquarius, that's frequency. It's magic. And with this last run of Pluto and Cap, it's our responsibility to maintain the highest frequency of magic. Because if anything can happen, and yes, sure, bad things can happen. If anything can happen, doesn't that also mean that magic can happen? Uranus is not here to be malefic. As the ruler of Aquarius, this is a revolution. It's a liberation.
So I've already gone over a lot of the implications of Pluto 29 Capricorn in the last episode. Cliff notes: Pluto in Cap is staying responsible and dedicated to rebirth, shadow work, and letting go. Anything that's not in alignment with the vision that consciousness has for humanity's growth and how that manifests in our individual lives and beliefs will be magnified in this 29-degree energy. There will be emotions to work through around letting go, but we keep our eye on the prize here: alignment with future forward vision for humanity and that high quality of life that we just talked about.
In this placement, especially in this trine, there's energy of real integrity and authenticity that Pluto is trying to unearth beneath the surface of the lies we've been telling ourselves in order to survive. Because it's trine Uranus and Taurus, survival just isn't enough anymore. We want to thrive and experience the material abundance that the earth provides so lovingly that has frankly been distorted and exploited in unconscious, wounded control systems. We literally get to unearth the way that it's been corrupted and hijacked and dismantle it in real time.
Now, the trine to Sun supports all of that through the ideals of Virgo, fixing the problem so that we can better embody this human experience in a more heart centered, passionate way. The way we are living, we are playing it way small in terms of hearts and passion. There is so much expansion on offer in terms of identifying through love rather than through ego and power.
Pluto is power, and Pluto has the power to help us release what's in the way of our healing, growth, and evolution. Because hell, even if you didn't watch this or follow astrology or anything else, all of this evolution energy frankly does not care. We are on the evolutionary path no matter what. We can fight it and make it worse for our individual experiences, and man, control systems that don't want to die will absolutely be fighting this energy. But that just makes it more painful and difficult. You can't fight a whole planet, and even more so when that planet is powerful Pluto. Its literal job is to retrieve the parts of our soul that we've hidden away, yet to consciously acknowledge and bring light to them. Do you think you can stop that process? Why would you even want to? Letting go is a huge, important factor and part of what paves our way towards awakening.
But if you're feeling tension around that, please know that this too is right on time. Because as much as we want it to be easy, we do have a T square putting pressure on that Pluto placement. The stars of the opposition here are Chiron 22 Aries and Venus back in the mix at 23 Libra. Now, I haven't spoken about collective Chiron in a bit. Chiron is our ancient wounding. It represents the lessons and pains we've felt through karmic incarnations that we carry into this life for healing. Collectively, Chiron in Aries is literally disempowerment. Oh, and look, the math is mathing again. Because 22 degrees nets to the Uranus degree. And Uranus rules Aquarius, the exact energy we are literally healing into. Wow. Chiron in Aries is showing us where we get to be brave once again, where we can trust in following our passions. It wants us to heal the collective by returning to a state where protecting our own hearts and those more vulnerable than us is a primary objective.
Essentially, this is no one gets left behind energy. Chiron's underlying mission as the wounded healer is to reveal solutions to transcendent healing through exposing us to the problem. Now, that can sometimes feel like a repeating pattern or a haunting at times, but just as the Greek god Chiron did through his life, the purpose is to see the pattern, heal it, and then actually use that experience to help others heal too. Because we're in the Aries Mars warrior energy here. There's an element of wanting to fight for the rights of the disenfranchised. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in retrograde, I think we really want to consider the approach. Has reactivity, hostility, war, right fighting, has it ever led to real, good, permanent, positive change? Or is it actually part of our Chiron wounding cycle that we're meant to heal out of, not repeat? Now, some of this answer is found by looking towards the opposition. What is it that we need to balance this Aries energy with in order for us to let that shit go and allow for greater freedom, a healthier, more heart-centered and supportive use of technology, and a greater collective quality of life?
The answer, of course, is found in the opposition with Venus in Libra. Libra itself is justice. Do we balance fighting with more fighting? Or do we balance it with more peace, creative solutions, compassion, mercy, and empathy, Venus is at the Mercury degree, so she's here to talk and negotiate. She wants to offer greater understanding. She's here to teach us forgiveness, that in order to be empowered to protect vulnerability, we have to be willing to look at the places where injustice remains, even if it hurts to look, because we can use that pain as the motivation to become more inclusive, harmonious, and less led by greed and ultimately suffering. The goddess has returned, and Venus in Libra wants to restore equilibrium to a world that has gone deep into ego based ventures at the expense of humanity itself. It doesn't have to hurt this much. It only does because of what we need to fix. So that energy opposes Chiron in Aries, which puts pressure on Pluto 29 Capricorn. So to relieve the pressure of having to let go of so much at once without literally imploding into a black hole, we look across the chart to the release point, 29 degrees Cancer.
Now, this is an interesting time to be looking at Cancer energy. Mars just moved into this sign a few days ago, and wow, I was not ready to directly feel all the emotional energy that came with that shift. I mean, Mars transits a sign about every other year, so Mars in Cancer isn't exactly rare. But woo, this one is not only a doozy in that it's noticeable shift from action-packed Mars in Gemini, but it will also retrograde through Cancer again later this year, so I think it's packing a punch right now because its message is so important that we need to look at it deeper and longer than usual. So if you're feeling super emo and acting out on it a bit more than usual, well, you're right on time. Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. It's not quite in detriment, but it's uncomfortable for Mars to be there, let alone spend that much time in it. The ruler of Aries, fire, Mars is a doer. It's warrior action, structure, passion. It's not at home in the nurturing feminine waters of Cancer. You can almost visualize the early degrees of Mars in Cancer transits like a little bratty toddler son being mothered and nurtured against his will. Like when mom licks her finger to wipe the dirt off of your face, that type of vibe. It's cranky about it.
Now also realize Mars is currently also involved in its own T-square with the nodal axis. So I wasn't kidding when I said that this chart had nodal implications left and right. I'm not going to dive too deep into this one because it's fairly straightforward. The Aries Libra nodes representing the balance of masculine and feminine, of empowerment versus partnership, but from a collective level. Remember, this is revolution energy. It's about bringing back fairness and including yourself in the equation. That energy is putting pressure on Mars at the Neptune degree to take action that results in emotional healing. On a personal level, it can literally be prioritizing self-care and nurturing yourself. Hey, I mean, even Mars needs his mommy sometimes.
Because how would we know that the balance lies in the feminine goddess healing energy if we don't let her into our most vulnerable moments? We get to do this individually so we can build it into our collective healing. And the release point to that T-square comes across the sky at 7 Capricorn. Commitment and responsibility to bringing back softness, empathy, and compassion. To focus on nurturing humanity.
For personalized guidance on where this impacts your life and how you can work with these energies in alignment with your own nodal path and lessons, hit me up for a live one-on-one reading. And if you really want to dig deep, try my written report for a deep dive on your chart that you can use as a beacon to return to whenever you need a reminder of where to direct your energies. If you're a more visual learner, take the deepest dive with me and order a customized video, just like the one you're watching, where I review your chart and show you in great detail graphically how to manage these energies to really make the most of your life purpose, path, relationships, etc. I'll look at it all. Comment below, DM me on Instagram, or visit my website to connect with me directly and book your intuitive astrology guidance services.
So I know I jumped around a bit here, and I'm a Gemini sun with a Grand Trine air, so I guess sorry, not sorry?
So the reason I went over into Cancer and got enmeshed in that Mars T-square in the first place was for the release point of the Pluto-Venus-Chiron T-square. So it's interesting because we sort of have a Cancer-Capricorn axis story in this chart that isn't as visually straightforward, but still very impactful as to how we manage these energies. Basically, as we move through the pain points of letting go of what Pluto won't let us take into Aquarius, we are being asked to feel it out the 29th degree of Cancer. What emotions have we not been wanting to look at, personally, within our own lives? Are we running from ourselves, ghosting people we love? All because of fear of facing how much it hurts? Are we willing to make self care and nurturing a priority? And how that translates into the collective. What current realities of society and being human are we refusing to look at collectively? Do we still believe war is what will right the wrongs? And get even more curious about it. Is there room for peace? What would happen if we were able to approach major disconnects? And I mean all the way up to warring countries and religions and ideologies with greater compassion and empathy? How might that change the course of our future? Which world do you want to build for your kids and grandkids and the future generations?
Listen, I know we're still in North Node Aries, but we've tried war for thousands of years. Clearly, more war hasn't been the path to peace, otherwise, we'd be there already. It might be a path to prosperity for a handful of people across the globe, but it's at the expense of literally everybody else. If we can individually get ourselves into the frequency of choosing self care and nurturing Cancer vibes, then we won't be able to turn away from action and compassion for nurturing humanity. No one should be left behind. And if our current systems of war, greed, and power tell us otherwise, then they're part of what's dissolving. They are not future forward and they're not built with healing and unity as the core principles.
And finally, to round it back to the chart and really solidify the story as a whole, we have a T square putting pressure on Capricorn, father energy. So where's the release point? Over in Cancer, mother energy. And we have another T square putting pressure on Mars in Cancer, youthful masculine energy in the sign of the mother. So where's the release point? Back over to Capricorn, father energy. The math is all right here. Balance and sacred union are an important part of the healing that's on offer with this lunar eclipse.
So, this chart touches on a lot of different placements, aspects, and energies. This eclipse season winds us through the complexities around letting go of broken systems through Pluto and Capricorn in order to transform things keeping us in a lower quality of life, Uranus and Taurus. It showcases a balance between independence and empowerment in North Node Aries, and how much better life could be if we worked together in harmony and reincorporated goddess energy into the way that we structure our world. South Node in Venus in Libra. We have implications of mother and father energies and how they're both necessary to bring us back into balance. There's Sun in Virgo, wanting us to identify as problem solvers as we move through this deep ocean of lunar feminine healing capacity with the moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces. And furthermore, all of this is an even bigger preview to what's to come in January, when North Node shifts into Pisces and Pluto by then will have begun its longer-term transit in Aquarius. And that's just the first eclipse of this series. So whatever is to come during our portal of change and transformation, all you really need to remember is that this chart points us towards balance and healing. Everything that happens in this window, and really the energetic goal of everything that's always happening around us at all times, is always in our favor, supporting our growth and healing and evolution. So let it flow, 'cause it won't stop. Thank you so much for joining me today and watching this episode and trusting my guidance. As part of my mission to follow my bliss and concurrently be of service to others, I'd love to help you crack the code of your own astrological chart and uncover the hidden guidance within it.
Whether you're interested in live readings, written analysis, or even personalized videos like this one tailored to your specific chart, I'm here to support your journey. Stay connected with me by subscribing here on YouTube and give me a follow on Instagram for regular cosmic insights and content. Plus, check out my website for some fun, customizable Astro merchant gifts to rep your unique astrological code. And remember, let it flow, because it won't stop.